Human trafficking is a multi-billion-dollar worldwide industry. 80% of that is sex trafficking versus labor trafficking.
Men, women, adults, children, we see it all.
Children who are exchanging sex acts to meet their basic survival needs aren't choosing to do this.
I think that's what makes it so hard for people to hear and for me to tell, is because somehow this kind of abuse just makes you feel ashamed, even though it's not your fault.
People are sick, and some of the most disgusting things you would ever think happens behind closed doors, especially when children are involved.
Anybody with a vulnerability can be exploited.
You know, he saw the signs of the vulnerability.
And he promised to take care of me and have my back, and he would buy me food. I hear say he loved me.
But eventually that paycheck turned to fist in the face, and that shelter turned into punches in my ribs.
He was like, I'm just gonna try and destroy her so that she'll break.
I've had to fight for this. Like I've had to fight for my life.
All right, love you.
Thanks, have a good day.
Yeah, you too.
Good morning, Mary.
You wanna watch a Magic School Bus? No. No.
I didn't want to sweat for it.
I don't want you to spit all over the sink because that's gross. Dear God, thank you for this day. Please help us to do a good job listening, be nice to our friends. Thank you for the sunshine. I think Finn gives me purpose that I might not have had before. It's important for me to be healthy so that he can have a healthy childhood and healthy parents. He's so loving and sweet, and maybe he grounds me, reminds me of what's important.
So crazy. Hello, everybody. My name is Liadma Theodore Ortiz Walker Pettigrew, but you can call me T. I am graduating here next month with a BS in Strategic Communications, and this is on my internship at the Baltimore Child Abuse Center. We good, Professor here?
You did outstanding. You did good. You know what? Just love T. You have a lot of things you've done. A lot of great things. I want you to enjoy your journey. You've been through a lot, but you've come a long way, okay? All right.
Professor, you'll be here on Thursday, though?
I'll be around.
Okay, I'll come find you.
All right.
Thank you, Professor.
It's okay, Skunky. It's okay. Yeah. How's your toys?
Today I can feel anger towards someone and still love them. I can feel afraid of new experiences, yet move forward through them. I can survive being hurt without giving up on love. And I can experience sadness and still be confident that I will be happy again. Today I'm learning to embrace my complexities and contradictions and to be grateful for the richness they bring.
Human trafficking is a multi-billion-dollar worldwide industry. 80% of that is sex trafficking versus labor trafficking. And it is very simple. It's market economics, supply and demand. So traffickers are in the business of making money. And the commodity that they sell to make that money is a human being. And the reason why sex traffickers are making money is because there is a market to purchase sex. So the individuals who are putting money in traffickers' pockets are buying sex. And they're not looking at the commodity that they purchase as a human being.
When I grew up, my parents were like leaders in the community. And so I think like on the outside we looked perfect, but then on the inside things were confusing. Like my dad was abusive. Like he was sexually abusive, but then I didn't understand really. Like I was too young to understand like this isn't normal. There's a lot of shame associated with it. I think that's what makes it so hard for people to hear and for me to tell so often, is because somehow this kind of abuse just makes you feel ashamed, even though it's not your fault. Gradually, as I got older, it seemed that different people would show up that I'd never seen before. It ended up being like a lot of different people, sometimes every night, somebody different. And before the different people started showing up, my mom walked in one time, and I think she hadn't known before that, and she just looked like all the blood left her body. She was like shocked, and I remember asking her for help, and she just stood there, and then she walked away, and I remember she didn't talk to me for weeks or like look at me. So from then on, like it wasn't a secret anymore. Like to her, so she knew people were coming in and out, or I would be going places. And as I started to get older, I just started to lose control. I felt like I was really depressed and I couldn't pretend anymore in school. I ended up taking a bunch of pills, and instead of taking me to the hospital in town, they drove like 2 hours to take me to a hospital that nobody would know them. And like, have my stomach pumped and all of that. And then later they put me in a mental hospital that was a place where they had offered my dad a job. And then I got like diagnosed with different things that were clearly not me, and I was on medications that were clearly not the right ones. I remember them asking me like in a psych eval all these questions and my mom answering instead of me. So like I was put on these drugs for being like bipolar, which I wasn't, and so things were really fuzzy. Eventually I ended up telling someone that was a camp counselor when I was younger, and told her about what was going on with my dad. I didn't say anything about my mom because I was hoping that like maybe she would choose me to support. Then like from that day, it was just like everything changed.
I actually grew up in foster care for the most part, but was reunited with my mother, I think a total of twice. The memories I have of her and Matt, is all messed up. My biological mother was the first person to sell me for sex when I was 4 years old. So she exchanged me for a vial of heroin and left me with a man in a Little Caesars pizza. I remember they were about to reunite me back with my mother right before my 8th birthday, and I begged the social services not to. I was like, please don't. She's not well. Like, you guys have been letting me go on visits. She's not well. This is not gonna be good. This is not gonna be good. They ain't gonna listen to no 8-year-old at that time. One of the experiences that really brought it out to me that I look at in hindsight, that let me know how bad it was when I got back and reunified with my biological mother at that time, was, my biological mother ended up bringing this random man home, and like her normal routine, she would put me in the bed with her and let this random man who's having sex with her touch me. And I need to go to the bathroom. And there were like worms coming out of my feces. And I like started screaming, obviously. So she stopped what she was doing and we went to the doctor and they were like, this child has pinworms. And you know, this is stuff that feral dogs get, you know what I mean? This is something that street cats get, you know. Humans aren't supposed to get that. So I think that at 8 years old, I realized like how bad it really was. The end result in all of that was that my biological mother ended up driving to Reno from Oakland, California in a drunken stupor and taking me and my little sister, and I went to sleep and I woke up and my biological mother was nowhere to be found, and I grabbed my little sister and neither of us had shoes, and I walked across the street to a security guard and was like, my mommy left me and I'm hungry. That's how that reunification ended. And so my biological mother was booked for child abandonment, and I'm not sure how long she served, but I was put back in foster care, and I stayed in foster care until I was 18. I've never said that on camera. I've never said that. I think because people have to understand how deep this trauma is. And I knew something was wrong and I spoke out before it got to that point and nobody listened to me. And then it happened. And it's like these things were happening and nobody was listening.
I met my son's father when I was 19, and then the day I told him I was pregnant is when he started hitting me. He just progressively became more abusive. My son was just about to turn 1, and I remember that was it. Like, I packed the very minimum of what my son and I would need, and I came back home to my mom. I wasn't using at that point until I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, and that's when the doctor started prescribing me ridiculous amount of opiates, and then it just progressively got worse from there. I got into rehab, and that's where I met Billy. Oh man, Billy, he was so handsome and so funny, and I wanted to believe that he wasn't getting high. And then eventually I realized that he was, and so I started to, and that's how I started taking pills again. And then I got pregnant, and I was taking oxys my whole pregnancy with Juliet, and then I was about 5 months pregnant, and I couldn't afford the pills anymore, and that's when I did my first bag of heroin. I was in denial the whole time, like, I'm gonna stop, this is it, I'm gonna stop, I'm just gonna do this, just so we're not sick, I'm gonna wean myself off. I told myself that every day I was gonna wean myself off, and I did. 3 days before she was born, I stopped everything, so by the time she came out, there was nothing in her system. So the doctors didn't call social services on me. From the outside looking in, it was normal. I remember the one day, Billy, he went to go get some drugs, and he came back. He's like, I couldn't get any heroin, but I got this, and he brought crack home. That's the first time I smoked crack. And after that, within 3 months, I had lost my kids. They went to go live with my sister. The only thing I had left was my car, and then eventually I ended up selling it. The guy that I sold the car to, well, he was just a tow truck. He's like, the guy I'm gonna go sell it to is looking for a secretary if you want a job. I'm like, yeah. And so I went there and he hired me right away. You know, he saw the signs of the vulnerability and he would let me stay in the office. I had a shower and a couch and a TV and a little mini fridge, and it was perfect. You know, he offered me the job, he offered me the paycheck, he offered me the safe place to stay. But eventually that paycheck turned to fist in the face, and that shelter turned into punches in my ribs if I refused to do what he wanted me to do sexually with him or any of the guys in the shop. And then the threats. It was like I was too scared to leave and too weak to fight. My self-worth is just gone. At one point, I remember I had to go pick up a car, and I ended up getting arrested instead. and that saved my life. I ended up doing 3 months there, and I never went back. And it was like a cosmic mental switch went off. I'm like, I'm done. I was done. I panhandled enough money to come home, and that's when I went to the crisis center, and I've been sober ever since.
Anybody with a vulnerability can be exploited, adult or child. When we're talking about kids, it's kids who have some kind of abuse or neglect. Children and youth that the foster care system has touched their life in some way. Traffickers have the ability to hone in on that. They are really good at spotting individuals who have vulnerability and capitalizing on that particular vulnerability. So if it's someone who's running away from a not great home situation or from a not great foster care situation, that vulnerability is wanting to be part of a family, and traffickers will create that pseudo-family dynamic.
By the time I was 10, I met a guy who owned a barbershop, and I met a man actually that was working there at the time who took a liking to me. The guy would invite me in to do little simple stuff like organize the shelf or sweep the floor or things like that. And he'd throw me a little $20 here and there, but he would also cop his feels, and he promised to take care of me and have my back, and he would buy me food, and he would say he loved me and all these different things. And less than a week later, I'm drugged up off of ecstasy, being raped by him and another girl, and being told that I need to make $1,000 a day for his drug habit, and if I didn't do that, being beat and bloodied and sodomized and raped and held with guns to my head. And that went on for years. This man would sell me for every day, multiple times a day, and expect me to make $1,000 a day. And I'm a baby, I'm a child. Real talk, this is the worst part about it. I didn't even know how much $1,000, I didn't understand how to count. I made more money for that man than I knew how to count at the time. That's how young and adolescent my brain was. People do not understand that. He wanted $1,000 a day, 365 days a year. Christmas, oh, that meant nothing. Holidays meant nothing. That was just a better time to deal with those who were lonely. So $1,000 a day, 365 days a year, you do the math, for 5 years. I wasn't the only young girl who was victimized by this man. I was the youngest, and so what that meant was I got lucky not to go through the branding like the other girls did, but he loved to put me in ice baths. He loved to torture me like that, and people wonder why to this day I can't stand to be cold. It just doesn't make me feel who I am now. It doesn't. It puts me back into feeling like a servant. I'm worthless, I'm being demeaned, I have no integrity, no dignity. So for me, I always felt like I wanted to not live the life that I was living. It was not something that I wanted. There were so many times that I asked God to take me because I was just living in misery. Nothing mattered. I didn't matter. How could I change if I really didn't know nothing else? If nowhere, anywhere else, as a child, nobody ever gave me any opportunity to be able to support myself except for to sell my body. They really convinced me, brainwashed me, made me believe this is the only way I could survive, by being abused the way that I did. And the type of degradation of the things that were asked of me during my victimization. People are sick. And some of the most disgusting things you would ever think happens behind closed doors, especially when children are involved.
Children who are exchanging sex acts to meet their basic survival needs, like food or clothing or shelter or safety, aren't choosing to do this. Every single solitary woman that I have spoken to and the lawyers who work for me have spoken to that we represent have experienced some type of sexual violence in their childhood or some type of childhood abuse, physical abuse. If you look at who has been traditionally criminalized in the U.S., it is someone who has been prostituted, who may very well be a victim of sex trafficking. We work with survivors to assist them with vacating the criminal conviction, which means legally it's as though that conviction never happened in the first place. The first time I met Tammy, she wanted to, clean up her criminal record. She had a bunch of collateral legal consequences as a result of her conviction, and we were able to successfully vacate the ones that were vacature eligible. So she does not have a record in Pennsylvania anymore. She was criminalized for someone selling her for sex, and she was using as a way of coping with, you know, the pain, emotional and physical pain that she was going through. I think she's brave.
I found out about Phoenix through one of my friends that I was actually in rehab with. I wanted to try this CrossFit thing, and she's like, oh, I love CrossFit. You should come down to Fearless Athletics. And that's how I got involved.
Fearless Athletics is the host of the Phoenix in Pennsylvania. The Phoenix, it's a nonprofit organization that provides free fitness opportunities to anybody in recovery from substance use. Got this, Tammy. Strong wrap, pull up the knees. Tammy was nervous. In the beginning, especially, she didn't know how strong she was, and she really had to work through that, finding out that it doesn't matter as long as you get a little bit better today than you were yesterday. So seeing her experience that and seeing her go through that growth process was really amazing.
I never in my life thought I would do anything like this, you know, but it's just so empowering. You know, I can come to a gym and not know anybody or what their story is, but I come here and I know we have one thing in common. You know, we're all fighting the battle of addiction, and we can bond through that. You know, I'm accepted. I've heard them say before, you know, it's just inspiring recovery, one rep at a time. You know, and I like that. I found my stance. I stand taller, you know, and I am more confident.
I don't wanna see that white flag waving. This is to the bitter end. 'Cause this is what I live for. I never quit, no, this is what I live for. I take another swing, so I never miss, no, this is what I live for.
We are now in my office. We're gonna pack our bags and hit the streets.
There's a lot of sex work and trafficking that's happening in Kensington along the Ave. People are working on the corners at all times of day. Men, women, adults, children. We see it all.
In the streets, there's a thing called hitting the yellow line. And you hit the yellow line when you're being chased by a pimp or when you're in a dangerous situation, right? And so there's so many times where I'm in the middle of trauma where I feel like I'm on the yellow line, right? Where on one side, there's the life that I've chosen now. But then there's my past, and it's what I know and all I know. And sometimes, you know, I feel like I'm meant to be, unfortunately, right? And so what I explain to people every day is it's as simple as crossing the street. Just as simple as crossing the street, that my life can go back to being different, right? But I have to make an intention every day. I have to be mindful every day that that's not the life that I want to live.
Kensington Ave is the center of lost souls. It's sad. It's very sad. It's like you walk down and you smell, it's like, the smell of drugs and homelessness and filth. And to me, it's just the smell of desolation, of hopelessness. Hey, you want your Scooby snacks? Yeah? Do you want a Rice Krispie treat too? No? Do you want 2 Scooby snacks? All right. Okay. Some of the girls we see pretty often, and we get to know them. And you know, just to be able to remember their names is something, you know, when you walk by and you say their name and they look at you like with this big smile, like it makes them feel like a human. You know, they remembered my name, even if it's like a fake name that they gave you. At least I remembered, you know, I remembered you as a person. So, kind of, it restores their dignity and respect. Yeah. We're just gonna go down to this one street where we usually find girls walking the strip. We know her, she wants some snacks. Delilah.
You guys thirsty? It's hot out. Yeah, you can bring it to me. How are you guys? I'm gonna bring it. If you know anyone under the age of 21, I know you probably hear our spiel all the time. Anyone that's under the age of 21, we can house them for shelter and give them services. So if you know anyone, okay. Bye.
So one of those girls I used to live with at a safe house for sexually abused and trafficked women. And she completed the program. It was a year-long program. She completed it and ended up back out. It's sad reality.
I work at the Cradle of Hope. It's a home for homeless women and their children. The founder started this 22 years ago because she was pro-life, but saw the problem that you're telling people to choose life, but then what are you going to do when a mom is in a situation where she's homeless and can't take care of her child? And saw that there was a need for a place where women could come and have their children here and have help to get education and training so that they could leave here on their own 2 feet and be in a better place. Our mission is to come alongside moms that have hit bottom and to offer some hope. I see a smile. There it is. There it is. 2 of my former roommates are now on the board. My core group of friends are all social workers or counselors. They just love helping people. So I met Heather, we spent a lot of time together, and I met her friends, and she always has had a passion for working with women. So recently, an opportunity came up at the Salvation Army for her to work with women who are being trafficked, and her heart is totally in it.
The New Day to Stop Trafficking program is a program under the Salvation Army that serves survivors of trafficking. About 10 years ago, we opened a drop-in center in Kensington, and that is for anyone to come in who identifies as female, who just kind of needs a safe place to be. And then we also have case managers out of that program who can support someone in kind of taking the next step.
We're in the heart of like everything that's going on, especially like with the opioid crisis. And this is the Ave where a lot of like commercial sexual exploitation does happen. So ladies do feel safe here and they communicate to each other like word of mouth. Like this is a safe place that they can come for either a meal or clothing or as a case manager as well. So just being here is like really great to like connect to those types of resources. There's no official way to just say that someone looks a certain way with like when it comes to human trafficking, where we do intake and we ask those questions around human trafficking. Right. And of course, like folks don't always open up to us, but we are further connecting with folks to like get that information.
A lot of people don't realize how the lasting effects of trauma really play a part of people's lives. Like, you know, here I am 30 years old, I still experience trauma responses. I still, you know, scream to the top of my lungs when somebody gets too close to me or looks like they're about to come at me aggressively. I still have night terrors. I still deal with this on a very real level. I still, you know, struggle. I live with an incurable disease, you know, that affects my reproductive system, you know, but I want a family. I want to be a wife. I want to be a mother. Those are 2 things that I really, really want to do before I die. And that would fulfill my heart because I want the family that I was never given. I mean, I want to create that. I want my healing to be in giving that to my children so that, you know, I can have that. I'm growing to more so accept some of the things that happened to me. You only heal once you face everything head on and you work through it. My biological mother didn't teach me much except for everything that I didn't want to be. But one thing that she did, you know, actually a lesson that she taught me was you don't get over things, you get through them. And I'll never forget that because that's so true. I have to cope with knowing that there is a reason why I've been through everything that I've been through. And whether I find resolution to it now, 10 years from now, on my deathbed, you know, I believe that everything is for a purpose because I believe in something higher than me. I believe in God, you know, and that's always been something that I've been blessed to have innate in me, that I knew that I was God's child, you know, and I didn't have parents, but I had God. One of the hardest lessons I ever learned in church was sometimes the things you live through are not meant for you. And that's probably one of the heaviest burdens that I feel like I've lived because maybe these lessons weren't for me, but for other people. God has proven to me how important and how amazing it is that he's carried me. Through God, I conquer all.
I have always been like insecure of this scar on my arm. I went through a series, like a time when I was like cutting to like get out like how I felt on the inside. And I'm probably more self-conscious of it than other people, but especially kids, they'll ask, you know, like, oh, how did that happen? And sometimes they'll take like an answer like, oh, it's from a shark. But other times like it doesn't work that way. So I would like something to cover it or like to distract from it. I think I have a high pain tolerance, but we'll find out.
You don't know how much I've already been through. You don't know the place I'm coming from. I've been high, I've been low, fought the demons in my soul. You don't know how much I've already been through.
Nobody's gonna mess with me after this. I love it.
What's your first line?
And we're in. A willow tree, I think they're so beautiful, but they're also like a mess. It's just like a bunch of leaves all thrown together, but yet they're beautiful. They also look sad, but they're strong. So many things like I just connect to a willow tree. Like there are scars that I'm proud of. Like I had a C-section, I'm proud of that scar. And there are other scars from cutting that don't bother me as much because they're not as visible. But it's like when it's on my arm, I don't have a choice of whether I want to talk about it or recognize it with people. I feel like it redefines me, like a different way to cover that arm. Thank you so much. Make sure. I can't believe you. Like, yes, I'm like, wow. It's like they just try to make it so hard so that you'll, I don't know what their method is, but I felt like my dad's lawyer was like, I'm just gonna try and destroy her so that she'll break and he'll go free. I don't know, but he's so close, like sitting right there and like asking you these questions that you wouldn't want to say in front of anybody, like even a health teacher or doctor. And at the end of the court hearing, they did bind it over for trial, which meant the judge said there was enough evidence to then take it to court. On my parents' side, they're trying to discredit anything I have to say. So they're like, we need a psych evaluation. So I'd go to a doctor that they chose and the doctor would say, this is not bipolar. This is nothing that's like, you know, her brain's not making this stuff up. Like she's struggling from PTSD, like post-traumatic stress disorder, something happened to her, and depression. And then his lawyer will be like, well, that doctor is actually not right. So you're gonna have to go to this doctor. By this time, I had moved to where I was gonna go to college. Every time I had to come back there, it felt disgusting. And I'm trying to like move on with my life and go to college. And, you know, we even tried like the lie detector test, like I passed it. My dad took his in private and the lawyer dropped him the next day. And then that was his first lawyer. And then my mom took one and they said it was inconclusive. But it doesn't matter. Like I did all these things and it didn't matter. And it was like, well, you still have to come back and do this. And at that time, I just couldn't do it anymore. And I just said like, look, I'm gonna kill myself. So like, if it's worth this trial going through, but me being dead, then I just said to my caseworker, like, we need to stop this. I can't do this anymore. And that was really hard for my friends. I think it was hard for the child caseworkers. I had gotten really close to them, but I think the people that like saw the effect it was taking on me were just like, yeah, just get out of here and don't come back. And so eventually I did.
Now, why don't you try to put yourself in the shoes of a child survivor of sexual abuse, a young adult survivor of sexual abuse. And now you have to tell a non-consensual, intimate, awful experience to stranger after stranger after stranger after stranger after stranger. And prosecutors who are victim-centered and who are trauma-informed will ensure that a survivor is ready to go to court, is fully prepared, and they are making the decision to move forward with that prosecution. It's individualistic. Maybe this month something happened and they're excited and, full of wanting to seek justice, and then 3 months from now, they've just put it behind them and they don't want to, open the can of worms again. So I think that, again, as professionals, just being really mindful that survivors, just like the rest of us, are going to change their mind, are going to have good days and bad days, but respecting their choices, I think, is really important.
It's just wrapping up so fast. The feelings that I'm going through is like all over the place. I'm like a little tumbleweed when it comes to the feelings. Yeah, it's definitely end of the era. I'm so nervous about what I'm gonna act like on graduation day because I'm scared I'm gonna completely shut down. I'm scared I'm not gonna have it, I'm gonna just be speechless.
I actually started college when I was 18, and I am set to graduate in 2 months. Oh my God, I'm gonna graduate in 2 months. This is craziness. Really insane. It took me 11 years, and I'm in my 4th college. I started college in Oakland, California, where I'm from, but through a series of events, I actually had to stop going to school because my life got so busy with my advocacy and things I was doing, foster youth advocacy and human trafficking advocacy. A lot of that had developed in my life, and I started getting opportunities to come to the East Coast to actually speak on Capitol Hill and speak on federal policy, all these amazing opportunities.
That woman joins me now. Wiedma T. Ortiz-Walker Pettigrew. She's a college student and board member for the Human Rights Project for Girls.
I can't say it enough, though. I had to come to Morgan. Morgan was the right school for me. I've never been so accepted in a place, and when I came here, I thrived. My first year here, I held a 4.0 straight for a year. Not just one semester, for a year. There was some time I thought I was gonna quit. It takes a toll on you, 11 years of people grading you, of telling you if you're good and adequate enough. Again, I'm sitting here giving full-on speeches in New York. And I'm failing speech writing class because the teachers don't like me. I never thought I was gonna get here. I'm so close. I'm so close. And it's just so crazy how I came from being the girl that couldn't accomplish anything. I had to go back. I was a high school dropout. I barely went to elementary school. You know what I mean? Middle school was rough because there was a lot going on in my life at that time. I barely graduated from the 8th grade. And now I'm the girl that everybody thinks got the highest score. Now I'm the girl the go-to girl that everybody calls. When we got a test coming up, a paper coming up, people want to use my templates, people want to know what my Quizlet is, people are wanting to know when I'm studying and where. It's just so crazy how I became that girl. And that was I just didn't think that was gonna happen to me.
I would say to someone who's going through the healing process that you can't do it alone. You need to find people that you can be 100% honest with, and they are going to be 100% focused on your needs and be able to be present. But I think you definitely need to have a village.
Hello. I just remember thinking in my head, like, I don't know that people do heal from this. Like, I don't have the answer.
How can we ask you to keep living when you have been so torn apart? But there was still hope. There was still healing to be had, and it was day by day for a little while, maybe for, I don't know, on and off for a few years. Sometimes we were just going day by day to try to get that next therapist appointment or to try to get that different medication change.
Nobody had nobody that had experience.
Well, it's 10 years ago, which is really before people understood trauma in the way that they do now.
And then the reason we found my therapist who like dramatically changed everything is because I was like, I need to either go to a hospital or this is it, like there has to be, I'm not gonna make it.
Then we, I think, went just straight for the EMDR
How did you know about EMDR?
Because I learned about it in school, and I was amazed by it. And I, just as a particular trauma therapy, I was like, we have to try this.
Right.
So it was a very specific technique that moved trauma from your short-term memory back into your long-term memory, because you really were reacting like things in your body were happening at the moment. You were so tense, like 95% of the time, your body and your muscles were tense.
Right.
So it's something that incorporated holding physical trauma in your body and helping to release that and then integrate that back into your long term.
Yeah, and that really is like EMDR, like she would say, how do you feel physically in your body? And that's why it was so exhausting.
Right.
It definitely changed everything.
We would diagnose Rachel with developmental trauma. We've done a lot of talk therapy. We've also done EMDR, which stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. The real simple way to discuss EMDR, the experience is a little bit like sitting on a train and looking out the window and watching your life or different experiences go by. It helps the client be sort of one space removed from the experience, so the emotion isn't quite as intense. Deep breath. So did that experience change for you at all while you were tracking the light?
I just, I'm just grateful. So, definitely feel more emotional because I'm just grateful for people in my life like you and my friends and Finn.
It's been a pretty amazing journey. I mean, you've come an incredibly long way, an incredibly long way.
Yeah, happiness and tears are like so intermixed in my life.
Yeah. All of these are in order, I'm pretty sure, in relationship to how they were done. And then I'll give you this to look through.
I remember it was hard to, like you said, try not to make something that's beautiful. Like, so the beginning was hard because I just wanted to make like a perfect piece of artwork. And so some of these, like, it was strange to not. Yeah.
I think that's one of the big pieces about trauma is that we're able to find a way to make it meaningful in our lives, and we go from being a victim into being a survivor, and we hope to get to a place where, although we never would have wished to have the trauma or wish the trauma on anyone else, that it's kind of gotten us to the place that we're in, and we're grateful in the place that we're in.
Yes. I think I'm most grateful that I was able to find this because I searched for so long for something that would work, and thankful that Heather and Kathleen knew of this and that we found you.
I know.
We'll get to see you again soon, right?
Absolutely. Thank you.
I couldn't miss this day. It's been a decade in the making, and I couldn't miss seeing the joy on T's face, because it's been a long road for her. She's a special person. She's an amazing, amazing woman. To overcome the obstacles that she has, to shine and help people in the way that she does. Most people, having been through her situation, would have been broken. I don't think I could have survived the things that she's been through. And to still have positivity and to still have heart and to still want to help people and help the world. She's just an amazing person. I love her. A lot of hard days, a lot of tears. There were also moments of joy. There was family. There were triumphs. And they all led to today. I'm trying not to cry. I know, don't. But just put your eyeliner on, no crying. Head back. It's that she was raised to be hard on herself. So she spent her years growing gentle. Her whole life bloomed. I feel like these years that I've been in school, I've just transformed to like a whole new person, and I've gotten a little softer, I've gotten a little quieter. You know, I'm definitely not the same person I was. I'm finally in a place, you know, like, I never thought that I would. I knew he was getting here. I never had a doubt. OMG, it's happening. This is really happening. I worked so hard. Nobody can ever take that away from me. And I fought battles that people will never know that I've fought. Sitting there like in that chair and having my friends by me, being like, I've seen this for so many other people, but I never seen it for me. It was the first day that I felt whole and complete, and I felt worthy, and I felt loved.
Delma Tiores Ortiz Walker Pettigrew, magna cum laude.
To everybody else, it was a piece of paper. For me, it's the fact that I can stand in myself and know that I'm not what other people said I would be, that I'm way more than that, that I can conquer things, and I'm smart. That day was full circle for me. That day wasn't just the last 11 years that I put into college. That day was from the time I was born to now, to feel a level of dignity, to feel a level of worthiness, a feeling of respect for myself. Because it was a day that was impossible. Everybody ordained it to be impossible, and then I fought for it to be possible, and it happened.
One time I was sitting here and I hear someone right outside the window here throwing up. They hadn't gotten their shot for the day, their fix, and they were going through withdrawal, and it was just like the retching sound like brought me back to reality, and it keeps it green for me. You know, I don't ever want to have to wake up sick and rely on sticking a needle in my arm just to be well and get out of bed to brush my teeth. I look at who the people I'm with and I'm like, I would never trade what I have now to go back to that, because this is so much more fulfilling to me. I was just so grateful for where I've been, because I know that part of the life, you know, I have that experience, and now I get to learn this side of it. And so it's like I live 2 lifetimes in one. I enjoy giving back. Knowing that I can be an inspiration and a support to somebody is what keeps me going. I may not have an immediate effect, I may not have an effect at all on somebody, but I know I'll always be there for them. And I'm just grateful for the people who never gave up on me. So now that I'm in a position to be there for somebody else, it's spiritually fulfilling. I have 2 jobs, 1 full-time job, 1 part-time job. I go to school, I have a relationship with my kids, and I'm sober through all of it.
I didn't ever imagine having a family. I didn't know if I'd ever get married. Mark was a huge surprise. But it's really great to see that we're a unit. Mark, Finn, and I has allowed me to not be defined by my past anymore. It's what I wanted probably as a child.
You're getting better. I just missed a lot of. Try and move your hips.
I laugh a lot now, but I think Finn obviously just brings me so much joy because he is hilarious, and it's just cool to see that he's like growing to be a compassionate, loving kid, and you pour into him and like he blossoms. That's pretty cool.
Life didn't deal me a good deck of cards. That's just what it is. But for me to just sit around and be pitying myself and feel sorry for myself and not use it for purpose and not try to find my own internal healing with it, you know, I don't just speak just because people ask me, speaking my story and sharing my hurt, you know what I mean? That does nothing for me. But to be able to know that it has purpose and maybe it can affect a young person who's been where I'm at, to know that there's reason to live even when you don't feel like there is, to know that there can be a life in existence that you never thought possible, that's what I do this for. I'm just praying every day that I get to live the future that I want to live, that my plans and God's plans align.
I have to first be willing to forgive in order for me to move past and live life without resentments and the anger inside me, because it infects my spirit, and I don't like the way it makes me feel.
I expect to have some hard times and expect to have like hard nights and cry and be depressed sometimes, but also expect to like have exciting things happen, and I just want to help people and have fun. That's it.
I have healthy relationships. I have amazing friendships. I have family now that I thought I'd never have. I just have a level of gratitude in my life that I never thought I'd get to. I'm ready for what's next.
Mm-hmm.